Well, we've been talking today a lot about hope, inspiration, and people who are our heroes. I can't say enough about this next guest, Holloway Gray, who's going to tell his story and how he's been able to overcome adversity and use what happened to him to help other people. So let's just get real. You did not grow up in a mansion in Beverly Hills, right?
No, I did.
Tell me a little bit about your upbringing.
I grew up in the projects of Washington Manor back in the late 50s, early 60s. The great thing about me growing up in the projects, a lot of people think that it's a torn up, beat up place, but my projects wasn't like that. It was a community where people knew other people and they had a say in my life. And so with that being said, it took more than my family, my mother and father, to raise me. And so that's how I was brought up. And
then at some point in time in your life, drugs took over, right?
Drugs took over at an early age. I was 13 years old in the 8th grade. And I actually started playing around with it. You know how you are as a child. You become curious about this and that. And I was hanging out with older kids. And I think there was a level of peer pressure that was there as well. But I started using at that early age. And before I knew it, I was involved in a lot of other drugs.
And I hear it got so bad at one point in time, you would literally keep a syringe in your sock, right?
Yes. I actually ended up keeping a syringe in my sock because I didn't know when I needed the fix. And I was actually considered to be a working junkie. I worked for a natural gas company at the time. And there were times where I would be sick and I would have to slip away, go to a restroom or go to the woods and put something in me.
Just to get through the rest of the day.
Just to get through the rest of the day.
What was the changing moment for you? What was the moment where you knew you needed to change your life or that you were not going to survive?
Yeah. I think that changing moment for me was I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And, you know, a lot of people tried to help me, but until I realized it myself, until I said to myself, you know, hey, this is not working. You've got to do something better than this. There's something greater in you than this itself, being sick, being strung out, being challenged to live the way that I was living.
And then, of course, some well-known names in this area. The Jakes family sort of came into the picture, right? And talk about them and the influence that God has had on your journey.
Well, my book, the title of my book, Walking in the Shadows of Greatness, was delivered to me by God himself. And after the title, God is great. And greatness is in all of us, to be honest. My pastor, Bishop Thomas Dexter Jakes, said one time, if you get around greatness, greatness is contagious. And so I believe that. All the years that I've been with him, I've had a relationship with him for 53 years. Who does that but God?
Right.
We met in 1962 back in kindergarten at the great age of 5 years old.
Love it. I bet you have some secrets about him, but that'll have to be another segment. Here's what I want to know, though, because you have this relationship with God, everything you've had to deal with, kidney failure because of the drug abuse, having a kidney transplant that didn't work. You lost your son.
Yes.
Right? So when you feel like you just can't handle anything else, God goes, here's one more thing, handle it. What do you do?
Well, the reality of it is it's still hard. But I will say this to the parents and people that have lost a child, stay there, hang in there, stay with it. God has purpose for our lives. God gave me one word when we were going through losing Jody, and the one word was live. He gave me one word, and that word I passed on to my family. Sometimes it's not just a faith move, it's human survival. You have to learn to go through counseling, you have to get counseling, whatever it takes for you to survive that moment, that's what you have to do.
And of course, you're here, you're able to share your story with everyone and hopefully change somebody else's life because of the adversity you've had to overcome, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
Great story. Okay, make sure you pick up a copy of this book. Holloway's book is called Walking in the Shadow of Greatness. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. We'll make sure that we get the information to you on where you can find it. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate it. More of the broadcast when we come back.